Hello world and welcome to Creating Light with Kelsey. This episode, you're getting a little you're getting let in on my Akashic Record reading. And I've this is the third reading that I've had from my friend Bree. And I'll link and they've all been recorded and they've all been on podcast episodes and they all still exist on the platform. So they're not a part of the whole re-releasing situation. Those are still here. I'll link those in the show notes if you feel called or pulled to listen to any of those. I know on the first one, I did a more in-depth job of describing what Akashic records are. And then the second one, maybe a little less in-depth job, and this one maybe even less because we just jumped into it. We didn't really talk about what Akashic records are, or I didn't I didn't reach out to her and be like, "Hey, what would you like me to say on this?" Because it's just I don't know. For this one I can feel and sense if this is for you, if this is something that you'd like a reading from Bree. You're either going to be pulled to it or you're not. And I'll also have her information listed in the show notes for you to contact her to book your own reading because she does offer that. But I mean, like one little sentence is that the Akashic records are something that she'll tap into, and then like to where she can receive information from all time, like all record time, like before, like past, present, future. That is the record for everyone. That is something that exists within the ethereal realms and is protected by light beings and that we have access to. And then so she channels that information of whatever my specific team feels that it's something for me to know at this time, then she would be a channel for that within the reading. And I get them once a year. Sometimes it's panned out like a year and a half, but it's around that time because I feel like that for me, these provide so much value and they take time to like sink in and integrate, and I notice because I pay attention and I'll re-listen to it sometimes, but it's something that I notice over the year that continues to happen and pans out to be the theme, and then something I allow myself to lean into instead of resist. And I also can only know so much, and this is one of the ways that I receive like help and outside help and guidance in that way, to have additional support of like, hey, what am I needing to pay attention to within myself and my own healing journey? And this provides that. Because it's on me, and she'll say that in the reading that you'll listen to, that whatever information that she gives, it's still on you to decide to do it or not, because we have free will and we live in this 3D reality that, and that's with anything, that's with any form of help and guidance that you receive from other people. It's still on you to show up and do it. And if you like, here's the possibilities or here's a possible outcome, and that's the thing too, that the records are always changing because of free will. But here's a possible outcome and timeline and something that could happen and unfold if you were to choose this path, if you were to make these decisions, if that aligns for you and that speaks to you, but also you have to show up and do it. And the main things that came up, one, not surprised, we did talk about hiding. So that like really came up again of like, are you going to continue to allow yourself to be seen, or are you going to hide? And because of that, like whatever choice on that, that's really going to determine your leadership. And it's just that begs that question of like, what type of leader do you want to lead to be? Because you're already showing up in the space to teach and guide people. So yeah, what leader do you want to be? Do you want to be someone that is continuing to be on the journey and facing themselves and not hiding and not shoving parts away, and not fully leaning into their gifts? Or do you want to be doing all those things and that's going to be the ever evolving journey? Like you get to choose. Because one of the big things that we talked about that took up most of the reading was clairvoyance and the gift of sight, and how that can manifest for me in different ways. But then that has like come in, and fear has been around that throughout different periods of my life. And we kind of go into two ways fear has come in, and two ways of seeing on this episode. And one is the clairvoyance of visions, of receiving that and what to do with that, which we've talked about that before, and like mistakes that I've made in the past by doing that and see and recognizing that gift and understanding the responsibility of that gift and how do we not manipulate that gift and how can we just let it be. We kind of dove in that a little bit with the fear, but then really the fear was, as far as certain clairvoyance goes, is like seeing things. So not the visions, but like seeing beyond the veil as far as like spirits and beings and entities and things. And the thing that I want to clarify, because we talked about it later, and some of the stuff that we dove into more and processed further after the recording had stopped was that aspect of like the fear of seeing beings and specifically of the lower realms. Because I know that's possible, and I know that's a gift that people do have, and that they are able to see in that way. And that's where my fear was coming in. And then she was getting a little mixed up of like, wait, you're afraid to see the darkness, the shadows? She's like, but you're not afraid of that. You're not afraid of shadows. And I'm like, no, I'm not afraid of being there, working within that realm. I'm afraid of like actually seeing it within my eyes as if something was in front of me right here and now of a particular being. That is where that fear comes in. And especially with the work that I do, and that I do work with the darkness, then it's like, what the hell am I actually going to be seeing if I fully tap into that gift and I lift my own veil within my third eye fully beyond? Because stuff will visit me in dreams, but then that can provide for my human self a little cognitive dissonance of like, that's just a dream, that's this, da da da. It's like, it's also your gift, babe. It's also your gift, and that can be here in waking life too, if you let it. And that's the we do have control on that, on our own gifts of like, do we allow it or do we not? Do we close the door or do we shut the door? Because spirit is very respectful in that way when you set those boundaries intentionally. And if you're coming, and I've done that, I'm like, I've kept that door fairly shut in that specific gift, because I will feel things and know things, and hear things. And then when it gets to the point for some reason of like seeing it, that's where I was like, oh, that shit's real, real. Like there is no more for me in my human brain and um processing, is there's no more denying if you are actually like seeing it with your human eyeballs. Like not in a little visual meditation, not in a dream, like I am just chilling and then I'm seeing stuff. There's no more denying anything. And so that's where, yeah, there's just a lot more responsibility that goes with it. It's like, oh shit, okay, yeah, we ain't playing around anymore. So that's clarification there, because we had a little, she was like, "What?" Um, she's like, "What do you mean you're afraid of the shadows and darkness and in that way?" Um, yeah, it's not fear of it and working with it. It's like actually seeing it with my eyeballs, because I have no idea of what I would actually see. But even though when I'm like sitting right now and talking on this like preface of the reading that you're about to listen to, that was not even a week ago that we had the reading, and I'm already implementing the things that my guides had suggested or shined a light on. Um, because realizing like if not if since since that is a really big part of my gift, if I'm not using that, then that is a form of hiding and not fully stepping into my own authenticity as this iteration of Kelsey and how I'm here to help and guide people. That's like what we talked about in the reading. That's like the final like Tetris piece that has like fallen into place of like, okay, we've arrived and it's now this piece, and here it is. Because I mean, in my own process of becoming, it's really, I've grabbed so many different things that have like spoken to me that I've used in my own liberation practice, and it all comes together to equal that, because there's not just like one way. It's about finding what works for you and piecing together whatever needs to be pieced together, because we'll never just have one teacher and just one modality or one way of doing things and one way of showing up. And that means we are liberated? No, because we're ever changing and evolving. Like things come and go. We add things on, we take things off, we fine-tune things, we master things. It's all of that. And like this kind of falls into that mastery because especially with the seeing being going beyond dreams because dreams have always been such a big part of my life, my understanding and my healing and clairvoyance in that way of being able to pick up on what's happening in my current reality and the people that are close to me. So it's just that's like a transferable skill that I'm noticing of like we're fine-tuning that craft. It's like you're already seeing a lot. Just allow yourself to have the fullness of it. Um, and and if the only reason why you're not allowing yourself to have the fullness of it is because of fear, that's where you check yourself. That's where you're hiding. And then that's where you also check your leadership. Are you not doing something and not showing up in the way that you need to and know that it would help yourself and others because of fear? And is that the kind of leader that you want to be? So those two things, leadership, clairvoyance, that came up a lot in this reading. And yeah, is really landing. So again, if you want to book a reading with Bree, she's great. She's been doing this for a while, and this is something this that is her gift. And so we've talked about that as well because of how she shows up in her daily life and her connection to self and the divine. Like this is just this is one of her puzzle pieces, what the Tetris pieces or whatever. Like this is one of her gifts. And yeah, so I'll put contact information in the show notes. Reach out to her and know that and trust that it'll happen whenever it's meant to happen. Because a lot of times that when I've scheduled readings with Bree, they don't always happen in the exact time that you schedule it. And it's because like spirit comes in and blocks it. And it's like, now's not the time, or redo it to this time. And every time that has happened, where there has been some kind of like what I have felt has been a blocking or a pause, is because there are some things that I still needed to experience and integrate in my human form to show up in the way that I could be available to receive what they were trying to give me. But there was some like little muddiness in the way that I needed to work through myself to be fully available for the reading and the information. And if I would have done it in the way that I wanted to, that my human brain expected it to happen, yeah, it wouldn't have been what it was. So trust that. If that happens to you too, uh, maybe that's normal, or maybe that's a Kelsey thing. But okay, here is the reading, the Akashic Record reading.
Oh, okay. Don't mind my emojis that pop up. Um, okay, two things. The first is the window's open. It's nice outside. You're probably going to hear the train go by. I'll pause, motherfucker. I'll pause. If it does, if you can't hear me, just let me know.
Okay.
Just it's too nice to shut. And honestly, if I turn the fan on, it's going to be too loud. The other thing is you wearing the blue. So when we did the reading at my apartment in Huntington a few years ago, the
Mhm.
things that stick out from that reading was that dark blue color, because we talked about that. Yep, which is the color of your fucking t-shirt. And the grandfather clock. Tank top. Okay, yeah. But also I love that it has stars all over it. Is that what those are?
Yeah, it's glittery.
Yeah, that's very shiny. Wait, what does the back look like? Can I see the back?
It's Chrissy Crossy. I'm glad I have legit pants. I was like, you need real shorts on today for some reason. This is the reason.
You trusted yourself. Ooh, that's super cute.
Yeah.
I also love that it's cropped. I was curious what was happening. I was like, is it a
Yes.
tank top? Is it a dress? What are we doing?
That'd be cool if it was dress. But it's
Mm.
velvet too.
Yeah, I can tell. I called that texture felt one time on accident. Me, my sister, and our friend were watching like a CMA Awards, and Brad Paisley was wearing a velvet jacket. And I was like, guys, look at his felt jacket. And they were like, that's velvet.
You idiot.
Yeah, I was like, well, I knew it was something. No, I don't want to leave the meeting. Okay, thank you. It said, you're being recorded. Do you want to leave? No,
Hmm.
I'm good.
Oh yeah, you have to consent.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so before you started the recording, you were saying that you were feeling grounded.
Yeah, the most like grounded and settled I've been before receiving any kind of reading.
Do you think that speaks to like other areas of your life too, or do you think it's just like right now in this moment?
I think it speaks to other areas. But I do think it's interesting because before other readings, I would do it, which I did a lot to be like settled and not distracted within my space, you know? But then my body would be just like so ramped and just like, yeah.
Interesting.
But now I'm just like I'm chill and like here.
Yeah. I love this for us. Um, okay, so the records are open. I did that as you were getting situated with the lights. I closed my eyes and did my whole little spiel. So, first and foremost, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like, one, that's just not my shtick. Like, I'm not going to be like, you need to do this. I'll provide you information and you do whatever you want. Um, I don't know why I always forget to tell you specifically to think of questions before we get to this point.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I don't need to know your questions. Like it all just comes out anyways, and then you form questions as we go.
Hmm.
So, any questions that you have that come up, just let me know, stop me, and we'll kind of take that tangent and go from there. Um, the other thing is I do as best as I possibly can to keep myself out of the way and be a clear channel for you and for the information because none of this is about me. It's about you and the information that you are ready to receive and hear, whether it's in this moment or coming up. So some of the things I say might not make a ton of sense, and that's going to be fine. Well, like the other ones, there's been things where in the moment we're like, I don't, that has no significance to me. And then a year later,
Hmm.
we're like, wait, hold on, let's backtrack, right? So it might be the same thing.
Yeah, I guess like the blue.
Basically, yes. That feels like a very full circle moment. Like, can we just talk about that? What is this reading? Three, four, two?
Three.
That's a significant number for you. Third
Three.
time's the charm. I like three. Three's
Yeah.
good.
Three's good.
It is. Um, okay. I Things are going to be moving very quickly. I think you might notice, I'm getting the chills. This is so interesting. It's going to feel like, but but at a manageable pace, where it feels like things have sped up but also slowed down in a really weird dichotomy. You know that feeling where it's like things are moving so fast and I feel like I'm just spinning out of control and I'm just waking up and doing my days?
Hmm.
That's not the feeling that I get. Where it's, yes, time is moving so fast, but I wake up and I'm so intentional about my time, my energy, and my days that it almost is like a stop start. Like you're moving, but you're doing the things intentionally. So then it doesn't feel like, excuse me, oh my God, a year has gone by. It's going to be, wow, that was a very intentional but quick year.
Hmm.
It's what I feel coming for you. And I think it's going to be because it's been a slow, like unzipping, unshedding process for you. I think you're going to start to see again a lot of things move. Like this is just what I keep hearing is fast, 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 fast pace. But again, like over here where we're nice and slow and we're nice and intentional, but things are still moving, things are still happening, things are picking up speed, right? So whether that's the podcast, whether that's your course, whether that's your consulting, whether that's your community, like it's all what? Tell me.
You said consulting, so I was like, what the fuck?
I don't know. Your consulting's over here. It's
Okay.
over here. Um, it's all building. And the foundation, so it's like, and I talk with my hands, but I feel like when I do these, like I talk more with my hands and it's like obviously more intentional, right?
Hmm.
But the foundation that you laid is allowing the building blocks to be built very sturdy and steady for longevity. And so you're going to see things start to fall into place, kind of like Jenga. That's what I'm seeing. Or what's that game where the things fall from the top?
Tetris.
Yep, that. So it's going to feel like Tetris. And I think pieces are going to feel like they don't entirely make sense where it fits, but you're just going to drop it and it's going to work out and it's going to be okay. and it's giving me the chills. And so it's like, you may not know where to put this in this box because it doesn't fit into the box, right? But your life also doesn't fit into a box. So it's okay. And surrendering to the fact that it's not all going to fit into a box and you're not going to have all the answers and know exactly what to do with it at the time, but you have it in your arsenal, you have it in your tool belt, you have it in your foundation, you have it to be able to pull on it again. And then it's going to line up perfectly and then it's going to keep going. I feel like there might be a question forming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not about that. It's just one
Okay.
that I did think of, because I know that we do this over like you don't like specifically ask me, but I know with other people that you do. Like that's like an intentional thing that you do for Akashic Record readings.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so the one question I was like, oh, okay. This question popped in. That's probably for the reading, and it's coming through now. Like you need to ask it now. Is the for me like what's with the being afraid to see?
Like you're afraid to see.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular that's coming to mind that you are afraid to see? Is it like life in general? Like, can we get a little bit more
Yeah, it's
specific?
more in the clairvoyance sense.
Oh, like visions and hearing
Yeah.
things and things like that.
Yeah.
An attachment.
Mm.
There could be an attachment that develops to that particular thing that you hear, see, or know. And one, what does it look like if it doesn't come to pass? Two, how are you going to feel if it does or does not come to pass? What will your life look like if you see something or hear something or know something beforehand and then it happens? Are you going to have to share that with people? Are you going to have to be seen? Are you going to have to come a little bit more out of hiding? So it feels like there could be fears both ways associated with it. Of, well, what happens if not, and what happens if,
Mm.
right? And it's all another layer of surrender because we know what we know and we don't know what we don't know. But when we see or hear something, thumbs up, when we see or hear something, especially if it's something that we think we want, it is easier to say, well, that's the option. That's what's happening. And then maybe we're going straight and we direct our course right because of that. And that's okay, but it's important to why are you redirecting yourself? Right? Is it because that feels like that's in highest alignment and that's for the highest good of all? Great, let's move forward. Is it because you feel like now you have to in order to course correct and do this over here? Well, I don't like things coming from a have to place. So, like, let's evaluate that, right? Because then that feels like maybe you feel like you have to, but it's not for your highest good. Um, so it's another layer of surrender. It's another layer of feeling the fear, releasing it, working with it, letting it live there, seeing what that looks like on both ends. And then, did I say surrender?
Hmm.
Surrender, fear, and attachment. But then you also have to look at yourself, and I don't mean like you have to do this, but like in that position you're faced with an opportunity to look at yourself more and say, well, what was the intention behind this? Why did I make this decision? Which then you're being self-critical and you're looking at yourself of like then you're questioning yourself, right? So it's like there's so many layers to this. I feel like this is an iceberg question where it's like, oh,
Hmm.
why just don't I get the visions? But there's so much under the surface to it that it can
What's
feel
the
scary.
fear more of it of seeing? So it's not because we know that they come, right? And
Right.
more so, I'm more open to it within dreams because I guess there's like more
Yes.
distance in my human brain from it
Yeah.
versus like the waking life. Um, and yeah, so it's like yeah, it's just the fear of it, not like questioning why are they not here or coming.
Totally. And I just kind of like want to point out on a personal level, I think it's funny that we're the exact opposite in this regard,
Hmm.
that you're like, let me document every dream I have, what's happening with the visions. And I'm like, give me every vision, what happened in my dream last night. So it's just
Yeah.
really funny that like congruence that we have. I, I don't think you're the only one who has that fear. It's a little bit in the unknown of what if and what if not, right? And so it could also be like hopeful. Oh, I saw this, so now I'm hopeful about it. And then it's like, that's could be scary. Is hope a scary thing? I don't know. Maybe it could be but then it's like, it's not necessarily the hope, it's the attachment to the hope, an attachment to
Hmm.
that,
Yeah.
right? So understanding that one, to an extent, you have control over them. Not when they come, not what you see, but are you open or closed to receiving them? One, you have that control. Two, then it's if you allow them, okay, then working within that parameter. And if you don't allow them, working within that parameter, right? Yes.
Yeah, because it's so weird. The detachment is like easy for me with the dreams because then it's just like, oh, that's a dream and that's information, can be information about me or it was received um from spirit and then yeah, and go from there. But yeah, that's like could be a transferable skill to waking life.
Hmm. Um, let's pause because I think you have another question. I saw your lips starting to move, but I want to pause really quick. This is we're going backwards. This is not a this life, like a route in this life. We're going back a little bit.
Mm.
Uh, I think you were a seer, and maybe there was some condemnation for it. And it's funny because I'm seeing it in like a comical sense, right? Like the lady that sits around the table with the crystal ball and is like, tell me, let me tell you, pay me for the thing, right? But it's
Hmm.
like, but in a very real capacity. Not that
Hmm.
that's not real. Like, I just want to
Right.
make that clear,
Yeah.
but like that for me is more like playful and more,
Well, that's how the media has constructed it in our life today.
right.
Yeah.
And so, but like revered, right? You were revered. People came to you, people sought you out, and there was some condemnation for it. And it's giving me the chills. And so it's like, oh, my throat is starting to restrict. It's like something that you have repressed out of fear
Yeah.
of being seen, hiding.
Mm.
Yeah, because then you have to lift the veil between you and the spirit in waking life, but you're also lifting the veil on this is a gift that I have. And I'm not saying shout it from the rooftops, like, everybody, this is what I can do, right? But like, I know how vulnerable and transparent you are with the people that are around you in daily life, anyways. And so it's like, that's another layer of like, this is me showing up as Kelsey in this life, and this is what my skills are and what I'm able to do. And that's another facet of it. And so it's like, are people going to be like, well, she's fucking crazy? What is she talking about? She had a vision about, she saw this happen, but it's like, are we hiding or are we hiding or are we not? And only you can decide that. And it's like an on-off switch. Excuse me. My throat's not restricted anymore, apparently. It's like an on-off switch,
It's because
right?
I
Like
accepted the information.
it's like, come out, come out, come out.
Yeah.
Also, I have to tell you this. So you know how usually when I do these readings, like things start to come up or happen like the week or few days beforehand, and I can't usually place it. And then I get into the reading, and I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense.
Hmm.
Do you see this on my neck?
Yeah.
Dead in the middle of my neck.
Huh.
So I woke up one day and it was just there. It's like, it's not a zit, it's not a bug bite, but it's literally a bump dead in the middle of my neck. And yesterday I was
It's like a
like,
protrusion, like a
yep. And so
stabby.
yesterday I had this whole conversation with myself of like, okay, so that's my throat chakra. Where am I not showing up? Where am I hiding? Where am I not speaking my full truth? And I really had to sit with that yesterday. And then the next thought that came to me was, where is this mine and where is this not mine? And this wasn't mine. And so this makes sense that my throat was starting to restrict just now. So now apparently my stuff's coming in physical ways too. So that's something interesting that hasn't happened before.
Well, I actually had something come up and it was more of a zit, but like right there on my throat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Not in the middle, it's off to the right,
Yeah.
but it's on the jugular. It's not on the muscle. It's on, yeah.
I don't know the difference. That's fine.
I'm saying
Mine's
it's not here. It's still
Oh,
on
okay.
this part,
Oh, yeah.
like what yours is, but mine, it's just to the right for me.
Yeah. Um, so that feels significant. That feels very significant. Um, so maybe sit with the ways that you're red, orange, yellow, green, blue.
Yeah. Light blue.
That's not an accident that you're wearing blue too for that. And we're talking about your throat chakra. So maybe sit with the ways that like you could, I would say honor that more. Your throat, your voice, your gifts. And yes. And there was something you were going to say before I went off on a tangent.
It's along the same lines. Because there's that level, that's that lane of hesitation, fear with seeing, but then the more intense side of the fear is of the like certain layers of darkness of seeing that within waking life or just straight up spirits. That's something that I notice anytime I feel or get a sense, I'm just like, if something around or that I would be able to see it, then I'm like, no, no, no. I was like, no, go away. I don't want it. Like, I just repeatedly do that, but it's out of fear.
So interesting, but not surprising that you mentioned that because when I say that I saw a comical come show me lady around the crystal ball, it was dark. Not
Mhm.
like not like dark like demonic, like the whole background, the lighting was dark. So that makes sense.
Mm.
And so and I couldn't place it because I was thinking like, oh, is this nighttime? Like, am I just seeing, but that it is more associated with the fear of the darkness
Hmm.
than it is with a specific time of day. Um, I hear you. Is there more information or clarity, or is there a question you want to ask out of that? Or is it more of like a statement of like the fear is also here too?
I guess it's just why is that fear there and like what, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because not everybody has beautiful intentions of peace, right? And so, with a caveat of people are out there doing the best that they can with the tools that they have, but again, free will. And also, you have been to the shadows, you have been in the darkness, like, let's basically call it the underworld of your healing journey over the last few years. And so, it's, it could be a form of like, well, I've already been there. No, give me a second. Fear of if something bad happens and you know it's going to happen beforehand, should you try to stop it? Is it that kind of a thing? No. Okay. Because at the end of the day, everything has come from the light. And so I'm not being immediately shown or told where the fear is coming from. So I don't, I don't, that feels like lower on the priority scale at this moment, right?
So more with that with is like I guess protection comes with it. So it's like, okay, if I'm gonna keep opening myself and keep leaning into the gifts and then I'm seeing it's also like they're already here anyway. You're just like seeing it. But so,
You're not.
mm, then yeah, then the question of protection comes into play of like what else do I need to know or what's there? Because I mean, we know that I've had my run-ins with that
Yeah.
and not being protected. So I think that's where that fear arises again of like, oh, you're gonna play in the shadows. Good fucking luck. You know what I mean?
Okay. So thank you for that clarity. So then I'm going to challenge you of what steps can you take to feel that protection and to protect your physical, energetic, spiritual, and your space. Because there's steps that you can do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Are you calling on the archangels at night to protect your physical body while you astral travel and dream?
Mm-hmm.
Are you only beings of the light are welcome here? Only beings of the light are welcome here. Only beings of the light are welcome here 3 times, right? So it's, are you taking the steps for that protection? Is it you need to know more information about what steps to take? Is it you know and you're not implementing them? Like, what are we?
That need to more know more steps or yeah.
Okay, there is a great book and it's called The Pleiadian Lightwork.
Um,
I think we've talked about this before, actually.
I
I'm gonna,
have the book.
it's blue. You need to read it. Not you need to. I would encourage you to read it if this is
I've
if
already
this
been
is
reading it. I just yeah, we paused it. But it's because I've been practicing some of the exercises. Because it's not
you
like you
have or
just
have
read
not.
it. I have.
Okay.
So then that's enough.
Um, and I can't remember if this exercise is in that book or if it's in another book, but there is an exercise. You sit, you close, you meditate. You see your oh my God, excuse me, your entire living space. Not just like the bedroom, but like the whole
Hmm.
abode, right? And you imagine a bright, like the purest, whitest light you could ever imagine. And you kind of take the light like around energetically, like you move it with your mind, right? Around the house and you clear out all the areas and you let the light shine everywhere under the bed, in the closets, in the attic, if you have one on the roof, right? You just kind of take the light around and you move it around. And then once you that feels complete, surround the home with the deepest purple light. But I'm talking like 6 feet wide around the whole home. And so I hear like walls dropping, if that sound makes sense to you,
Mm.
of like enclosure when I picture the purple walls. And so, however it feels best, whether you take the purple and you go, start behind you and come around counterclockwise and go in a circle, and then you hit the roof and you hit the ground underneath you, and then you feel like you're sealed in this like purple space essentially. Um, that helps to protect the physical space. And so I probably do that once or twice a month. More if I'm feeling more, right? Because
Hmm.
there may be times where it feels like a little bit more open. Like around Halloween, I was doing it a lot. Like I noticed myself very unintentionally, like maybe every day that week before and the week of and the week after, like I was like, it was quick, right? And the more that you do it and the more comfortable you get, the quicker it's going to get. The first time it might take a little bit. Um, but that could be a good first protecting your physical space, right? And then in the mornings is a good time to begin to protect all of this, your physical, spiritual, and energetic bodies. So I know that there's not workshops, exercises in the Pleiadian book
Hmm.
about cleansing your aura, dropping your grounding cord into the earth.
That's what I've been practicing recently.
Okay, I would say stick with that because the tighter and and I don't mean tighter, like, but like sealed your aura is, the harder it's going to be for things to penetrate that,
Mm.
right? And the more you clean it and clear it, the more that if something does get through, it just at night, you're just it's cleared again.
Hmm.
Uh, Roses are a good way. Why are you making that face?
It's just my favorite flower. That's kind of always been around. And I have the whole tattoo on my leg. Like
Oh,
half of my
yeah.
leg is roses.
Yep. So use that power
Mm.
to protect you. Let it send out its own shield. Like it is on your physical being for a reason. Let
Hmm.
that physical part of you protect you,
Yeah.
right? And so even if it's like you set the intention of, I'm getting the chills every time I see a red rose, I am protected. And then buy motherfucking red roses and put them in a goddamn vase in your house.
I like white roses. I don't know if there's a difference protection wise.
I mean, white is the purest color. So,
Yeah, that's like my favorite flower is white roses. And that's what I would see. Yeah, and I haven't done it, but yeah, I used to put white roses in my house.
and maybe it's as simple as they're fake. That way you never have to worry about changing them out and them dying and you having to go back and get more and the cost associated with that and the time associated with filling the water and emptying it and taking out the trash and that whole thing. Maybe you order fucking fake ones on Amazon. And also what I just saw is lay one at your front door on the
Hmm.
outside. And I very clearly see it as your door handle is on the left and the rose top is on the right.
Okay, so it's opposite the door handle.
Yes.
Okay.
On the ground, right at the bottom of the um and yes.
On the inside of the door or the outside of the door?
Like when
Outside.
you come into the door, you're unlocking the door, you're
Uh-huh.
about to open it, you look down and there's the white rose.
Yeah.
Um, but that way, you are setting yourself up for this was your intention when you see this. And it's like you're creating a vision board, but like a physical one,
Hmm.
right? And so um the practicing of the Pleiadian exercises will help. The archangels are always there to help you. Use your physical body and the roses on your body to continue to protect you. The house purple wall thing and the roses is what I would say. And then also let it evolve. If you wake up tomorrow and you're like, crap, I really feel like I need to do this in order to feel protected today, do that. Maybe it's as simple as you wake up in the morning and, I don't know what your routine looks like, but maybe adding into your routine while you're drinking coffee in the morning, like you're stirring your coffee, you're sitting in your chair, you're meditating. What can I do to make myself feel more protected today? What can I do to provide that for myself today? Right? Because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to provide that for yourself before a partner can do that, before anyone else can do that. So it's like, what steps is that going to be?
Hmm.
And for other things, it's like, and not like this, like I see visions, I'm afraid of that darkness, right? But it's like maybe I'm afraid of I live on my own and I'm afraid of that. So I'm gonna install an alarm system. It's like, great, I took that step for my physical peace of mind, right? So it's like, how can you provide that to yourself spiritually? And it's gonna evolve and it's gonna change, and that's also okay. And there might be days where you don't get 100% correct. Give yourself the grace to know that you're doing the work and your intention is to protect yourself. What you can also do is at night in bed, you're in bed. Also, for the record, this is not how I sleep, but you're in bed and you're laying there, right? So you have top, right, bottom, left, sides of you. Call on beings that you feel safe with to protect you. So
Yeah, I
I
do that. When you told me to do that, I did that with calling on ancestors.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say. I do ancestors. My grandma, my uncle, the being at the bottom of my feet changes, and then my other uncle all the time.
Mm.
They're constant. If I have to, if I'm feeling like extra, like I need a lot of protection tonight, like I'm gonna go some places in my sleep, it's Hathor, Isis, Green Tara, Sophia Dragons, Archangel Michael, Uriel, Gabrielle, like whoever is coming out of my mouth is coming out of my mouth and I feel them and then right to bed. But for the Pleiadian practices, I would see what it feels like if you do the grounding cord and aura cleansing and rose stuff in the morning and at night before you go to bed
Mm.
instead of just once a day. Let's see what it looks like when you do 2 times a day,
Yeah.
right? Because that's 24 hours. A lot can happen in 24 hours. So
Especially with the work that I do.
right. So let's just keep up the maintenance, right? You maintain your home, you wash your laundry, you go to the market. Let's maintain the physical and spiritual aspects as well.
Mm.
And the more adept you get at it, the faster it's going to go. So at first it might feel like, fuck, this is taking forever. Or like, I only have 5 minutes. I don't want to sit down and do all of the things that Brianna fucking recommended. It's not always going to take that long.
Hmm.
Or sometimes it might take a little longer. But again, it's all going to change and it's okay. And so with the fear of like, hey, if this happens, also then it happens. And then what tools can you pull on to make you feel clear, clean, safe, secure, right?
Hmm.
Because we only can control so much.
Yeah.
And you can control the cleansing, the grounding, the clearing. That's what you can control. But I think part of that is fear of the shadow. And I challenge you with, are you really afraid of the shadow? Are you really afraid of the darkness, or are you afraid of what you're going to find in the darkness? I like a little hand movement.
That part.
Um,
Because it's
okay.
really, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like it's really, it's not the fear of being there, it's the fear of, yeah, what am I going to see as far as like, because I can feel it and I can sense it and I've worked with it. So that's why it doesn't feel scary to be around it. It's just the actual seeing part is like, whoa.
Scary
Yeah.
because it's new and you don't know what you're going to see and you don't have control over that.
Yeah.
On a personal level, I understand. Like, I very much understand. For me, that's akin to saying, well, I'm afraid to start a business because I don't know what that looks like.
Hmm.
Okay. And you're not going to know until you fucking know it. So it's like, and I'm not trying to be like callous or cold about this, but like you don't know until you know. We only know what we know until we know more.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, upping the protection practice would have me be more open to let down the seeing veil. Because then it's more real. It's like if I see it, then oh, like you are right here. But if I'm not in my own stuff of protecting, then it's like, oh, you could you could come at me.
I'm seeing this as, excuse me, a jigsaw puzzle. And this is another piece of the whole you.
Hmm.
What I
Yeah.
mean by that is this is another gift you get to, like it feels like it just went and locked into place. Like, oh, it gives me the chills. Like this is another piece of the bigger picture of you, Kelsey. And it's another way for you to have a tool in your tool belt to relate to people, to help people, right? So it's also not only what you see, but what you do with it that's important. And you're not doing it for malicious or bad intent. That's not what this is. And so I have no concerns. I don't see a path where you're like taking the visions and like gung ho, like, I'm going to make you do this because I saw this. And it's like, no.
Oh, we fucking learned that lesson already, babe. Like,
Right. I know, but that's what I'm saying is like, I don't see that path forward for you.
Yeah.
So that's not who you are anymore. And sometimes, in order to learn the lesson and to be different, you have to go through it. And so it's like before, where there were a lot of rocks in the road, now it feels more like a smooth path. Now it feels like there's trees, there's abundance. That's what I'm seeing. Oh my gosh,
Mm.
that makes so much sense. I was on my fucking walk this morning and I was like just counting, like, God, there's so many trees, there's so many bushes, there's so many plants, there's so many animals. Like, this is pure abundance. And literally, what I saw on my walk, and we're gonna incorporate the visions here, right? But like, and I didn't realize it was a vision until right now, is what I'm seeing right now for you.
Mm.
You walking this path that is not perfect, not smooth sailing, because I think that's an unrealistic expectation for life, right? But it's how do you handle that and what's your perspective of what you see? And so I think that ties into the fear of, well, what am I going to see? Well, anything,
Right.
literally anything.
Uh-huh.
And also it could change as you change and evolve and grow. What you see could change. Maybe for a little bit, it's focused on this one area of your life. Maybe it's focused on your course for a little bit. That's okay. And then maybe in 2 years, it focuses over here, or maybe it gets broader. I don't know what that looks like because you're going to grow and evolve and change so much that it's also going to grow and evolve and change with you. Right. So in 2 years, let's sit down and let's see what it looks like at that point. Right. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to see anything. But what's the perspective and how are you going about it and what are you doing with it? And maybe it's as simple as you, and this is what I see, you sitting, you have a candle, you have some roses, you have some like just instrumental music playing, and you're sitting there and you're setting an intention for your visions in a way that's not controlling, in a way that's, I'm open to what I'm going to see. I'm open to what needs to come to me that's for the highest good of all. I'm open to staying protected, grounded, safe in these visions and what's coming to me. I intend to not get attached. I intend to surrender. I intend to continue on the path that's for the highest good of myself and for all. Maybe it's a simple intention setting ceremony because you're not trying to control the visions. You're open to them.
Mm.
But how, again, how can you set the space and the tone for you to be more safe and secure in them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell you about all that.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
If I had a microphone, I'd drop it.
Yeah.
I like that little noise. Um, okay, I'm gonna see what else is I was gonna say impertinent. That's not the word. Important to tell you. You've done so much up until this point. Are you remembering to celebrate the small wins? Are you? Your face just went through a couple expressions very quietly, just so you know.
I could do more.
Okay. And I know that wasn't really something to tell you, it was more of like a challenge question. Um, that's where the honey is. I don't know why that's the word,
Hmm.
but that's where the honey is in the small wins. Even if it's like changing your perception and stories around money, right? Well, okay, let's say my goal is to save $10,000 and I currently have nothing saved. Am I going to wait to celebrate until all $10,000 is saved? Or am I going to congratulate myself each step of the way because I am interrupting patterns and changing habits? That gives me the chills.
Hmm.
And so it's like we're climbing mountains here. Are we going to wait till we get to the top to be like, wow, good job? Or are we going to be like, oh, you fucking did that today? Right? Like, look at like, what did you do today? Whoa, we would not have done this 2, 3 years ago. That's huge. I saved $100 today. I made the decision instead of going and recklessly buying jeans that I don't fucking need to put that money in a savings account. I'm so proud of myself. And it doesn't have to look correct. What does that look like for you? How can you sit down? Maybe it's at the end of every, I see this as like at the end of every day. You're getting out your journal, you're drinking your tea, you're sitting down, you're recounting the day. And this ties into the start stop, the things are moving very quickly, but you're very intentional, so they're very slow.
Hmm.
But like, how can you recount your day honestly in a way that you can still celebrate your wins? Right. And so, what's the name of this book? Hold on. There's a purpose. Okay. I just finished reading this book for the second time in the last 3 months. It's called Love Life by Matthew Hussey.
Hmm.
And he is saying that we're going to pause. I'm not going to tell you that. Gratitude journal, but like a gratitude journal in the sense of you're counting your wins,
Hmm.
even if it's small, even if it's I ate a healthy lunch today, right? But it's not a matter of going against what you want, right? So like, okay, this feels good if I were to go and spend $10 on a green juice. That would feel really good for me. But I know I have stuff to make a salad at home, so I'm just going to force myself to make a salad. That's not really a win.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it's going to also be very nuanced of like, well, no, that green juice was a win because that gave me nutrients that I could have got from the salad, but also that felt really good. So then I moved the rest of the day from a different place. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And that seems like the most minuscule, non-celebratory thing. But and I know you and I have this conversation a lot. How, and this one there's a sign, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it's
Yeah.
like, are we going to celebrate only the $1 million months or are we going to celebrate all of it? And that doesn't mean it has to be like, I'm going out to $100 dinner tonight to celebrate my $10 green juice. It's like, that feels a little counterproductive. But if that's going to make you feel better, fucking bang it out. Right. But back to the mountain analogy of like looking how far you've come and acknowledging that and giving yourself the recognition for that. Because as a society, we tend to beat ourselves up, but not give ourselves the gratitude and appreciation for what we've done.
Hmm.
And so I would challenge you to look at the ways that you can celebrate yourself more. And that's to say, too, long-term goals are important, short-term goals are important, right? And still celebrating those when they happen. Maybe your goal is to save $100,000 in the next, I don't know, what is that going to be? 13 months by the end of 2025, right? Okay, celebrate along the way. And then what does the celebration look like when you've achieved that goal? And I think I'm 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 seeing two columns along the way, goal achievement celebrations. And the clarity on that could serve you in the way of it doesn't all feel the same. well, I just saved $100,000 and I'm just going to sit here with my fucking journal and just be like, wow, good for me, Kelsey. Like maybe that doesn't feel good for you.
Hmm.
Maybe your goal celebrations look different than the along the way celebrations. Maybe the along the way celebrations really are just like, a, wow, Kelsey, you did a great job. Or, you have a note on the count on the mirror that's like, you're doing great, keep moving, right? Or maybe at a week thing is like, these are the things you've accomplished last week. Be so proud of yourself, right? And then maybe your goal celebration is like, take yourself out to dinner, buy yourself something that you've been eyeing within like a certain price range,
Hmm.
right? So, and that way, then you are still striving for something, but you're still looking at what you've done. Yeah, I'm seeing the there. That part feels complete, unless you have a question.
No, I mean that definitely is what's needed because it's just um I think it's because the striving of the certain layers of healing and then to get out of survival mode, it was just the like you have to keep going. Like,
Driving.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any questions? Anything else that you're like, I really want to know about this?
Just the container has also come to mind.
The ATUW.
Yeah.
Be prepared. It's going to be big. Keep putting in the work. The celebrations are going to add up. The visions locking into place are going to add up. And all of that is going to aid you in being a better teacher, a better leader, and able to connect with people in a different way. Because I'm seeing like teachers, students, one, a lot of people have themselves in a hierarchy, right? I'm better than you because I know more, or
Hmm.
because I'm teaching you about this. I'm up here and you're here. When in reality, it's all equal, right? It's just an
Yes.
exchange of information.
Hmm.
And so it's not going to kick you down a notch. That's not what I'm saying, but it's going to remind you that this is what it is. And the openness to the visions and the celebrations, if that's the path that you choose to take for yourself, it's going to aid you in being a better, and I don't mean hierarchical, I mean more efficient, more equipped leader, in the sense that what you're embarking on is a lot.
Yeah.
Gives me chills, not in the sense of like, this is hard and this is heavy and this is force. It's a lot in the sense of you're taking people into the darkness and you're walking them through it. That's a lot. That's heavy in a way of like
The
a
big responsibility.
yes, right? And that can be hard for people. One, I see people coming across your path who can also see things, and them needing to know how to be equipped to do that is the first thing. The second thing is being able to celebrate yourself for your small wins and reflect on the day. I only see that being beneficial for the people that come through your container,
Hmm.
because there might be periods of time where they feel like, what the fuck? The world is falling apart. My life is collapsing. Everything I know it is different, but there's a silver lining in there and there's a win in there. And
Hmm.
can you help them see that?
Yeah.
And the best way for you to do that is having done it and gone through it yourself. They say our biggest pain is our biggest teacher and it's our biggest gift to the world. I, to my core, fucking believe that. And everything we amass on the way only allows us to be better. Right. And so I would really sit with those two things. I think they would be a game changer. I can see the difference in you as a teacher if that's the way that you decide to move forward. Not to
Mm,
say you wouldn't be, you're not a great teacher. You're not like, I'm not diminishing your capacity and your ability at all. I'm saying you're at a fork in the road, which fucking jokes on me again because I saw that again this morning. I was like, it feels very much
interesting.
like a fork in the road right now. And I couldn't place it because my life is not at a fork in the road.
Huh.
So it feels like you're at a fork in the road of like, but not like a major red danger, but like the small, subtle decisions that we are faced with that we get to make.
Hmm.
And it's where are you going to go? And I'm not saying because I think because free will and we can always make choices that you can't course correct later. Because I believe that you can. And I'm
Hmm.
seeing that even if it can still go like this, right?
Yeah.
And the paths can still merge and come apart. Like it's just because you make a decision, you're not forever stuck there, set in stone, have to live in the house forever. Like that's not it. Uh, but I think you're at a fork in the road.
Mm.
And I think that you get to make a decision. Um, Again, not like dangerous, life-threatening, like, I'm not seeing like red flashing lights. Um, but what are you gonna do? How are you gonna pivot and move differently from this space in order to benefit the container, in order to benefit yourself, in order to benefit the people in the container?
Yeah, because that was kind of that question. I like that. I mean, you provided that clarity by saying like it's not force. I mean, you said the word force, and I think for me that was what was connected to the question of like, am I forcing this? Do I need to surrender and let it go? Like, you know what I mean? Um, or yeah, just like what the hell is going on?
Totally. I absolutely understand. And I see a clear delineation of force versus work. Don't fucking force anything. Don't
Hmm.
force it. Because force it is you're trying to put a square peg in a round motherfucking hole. And no matter how hard you try, you're going to end up disappointed. It's like trying to force jeans that are too small over your hips. I've tried to do that and it is heartbreaking. Like it's just, you just don't do it.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like work. A lot of things are going to take work. That's just the reality that we live in. Do I
Hmm.
think some things are instantaneous? I do. Do I think everything, like, I'm just gonna close my eyes and my partner's gonna appear and I don't have to do anything? Okay, well, is he crawling in my window? Because I don't want to date someone who's gonna crawl in my motherfucking window because that's creepy, right? But I have to put myself out there. I have to go to work to do that. Whether that's the internal work, whether that's putting myself in situations where I'm going to meet somebody, whatever that is, that's going to be work. Work is not like, oh, I woke up and I went to my 9 to 5. Like work is effort,
Hmm.
which is also funny because I just had this conversation with myself the other day in the car and I was like, where's this coming from? So a lot of stuff's starting to click into place right now that this is for you. So yeah, and it's okay that it takes work. We have this like illusion of reality right now that things are easy for everybody and no one's exerting any effort to do. Not nobody. A lot of people aren't exerting any effort and everyone's an overnight success and they just woke up and they were beautiful and they had $10 million and their business was the #1 New York Times bestseller and you
Hmm.
iceberg, right? And so tuning into yourself of like, is this work or am I forcing it? Work, continue. Force, ooh, how do we pivot? And getting that gut check of yourself of where are we and what are we doing? Because I think that's a normal reaction, right? But we're also taught like, now do everything you can to make that work.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's called force.
Right. That's where I was like, huh.
And it's okay to walk away from people, situations, things, creations that are no longer working because they're no longer aligned for you. Because maybe you were a different person when you created them. And I'm not saying walk away from the container. That's not what I'm saying. Right. But also, it's okay that it's going to take work to do things. It's okay that it's going to take effort to get something off the ground and to do what you love. Are we forcing it? Then we need to reevaluate.
Yeah, because synchronicities still happen with it, with stuff that I read and that I'm interested in. It's like I tie that in. I was like, oh, that's part of the container, or oh, that's the underlying mission that my container also helps with this or what I read. So that continues to happen. Yeah, it's just the um yeah, letting go of the how.
Which joke, because that's a layer of surrender, which is tied into your fear of the visions.
Mm,
How am I going to see this? What am I going to see? Trying to control the how or what comes through. And we can't across the board. So deepening into that level of surrender of, well, I don't know how, but I'm open to the millions of possible ways it could happen. And that's the detachment, and that's the leaning back. And that's the balance of the masculine and the feminine. I'm doing
yeah.
the work, but the how isn't up to me.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like your normal like business of I have a container and like here it is for the world. It's like I don't like it's just um that's where the gatekeepers come in and they're like, no,
Yeah.
that's not what this is.
It feels with like a pretty little bow on our conversation, trust, protection, safety, surrender, and detachment
Hmm.
are like our themes at play right now. And within that, it's not taking an inventory of your life in the way of where do I get to deepen into surrender? Where do I get to deepen into detachment? How can I have an honest look at myself to feel safe and secure? Right. So it's like with a pretty little bow, that's what it is. And again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So, do you have any more questions?
I do not.
Okay. Yeah, I was starting to ask what else I needed to end. It was like, that's it, we're done. So that's
That
all the information I have.
is all you have.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I would sit with those five things and, take an honest inventory of also force versus work and celebrating yourself. And sorry, I have to stretch my leg. Also, I've realized I think all of the readings that we've done have been from my bed. So
I was thinking that earlier. I was like, oh, there she is, sitting on her bed.
it just happens like that. Um, yeah, that feels that feels complete. And
Mhm.
also, if in like a few days you're like, okay, wait, I need a little bit more clarification on this, or this question came up because of this, like, let's talk about it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this for you.
Yeah, you love this for me.
Yeah, I do. It's I think life is a series of information, inputs and outputs. And we get to decide what we do with it, and it's sometimes the seemingly mundane, small choices that we make that can truly change our lives. And so when I tell you, like, well, I think you're at a fork in the road and, the pivot and stuff, and it's like, that doesn't seem like a life or death. What job am I going to take? Am I going to stay at my job? Am I going to move states? Like, what, like that seems
No,
like
that's
such,
yeah, that's where I was like, oh, interesting, a fork in there because I feel like everything's a landing because I've made the decisions and I've listened to the like pulls. So then to hear you say like you're at a fork in the road, I was like, hmm.
yeah. But I think we're trained to think of like fork as like this major, am I going to break up with my husband? Am I going to divorce him? Am I going to have a child? Like these huge life altering decisions when it's like, you ask any successful person, it's built on small habits, small
Hmm.
things. And so it's like, yeah, of course, there's the thing that's like, am I going to make a right or a left? And then I get into an accident. It's right. Like, of course, there's those things too, but that was also a small decision.
Hmm. Yeah, this
So,
is for sure that because like the main thing that when you were talking about that was the morning and evening routine, like that was kind of throughout, like the protection, the whatever, the goals, the gratitude, and that's what I've noticed is like my mornings and evenings um have like been slipping into just flowing with the motion. Not as much the mornings, like we're getting back into like a different kind of routine, but the evenings, it's just really like not intentional, I guess you'd say.
yeah. And the reading, the Akashic record reading, like aside, like now we're talking like on a personal level, but that makes sense. And that happens. And so it's like, 2 years ago, my morning routine was waking up, putting my pajamas on or like warmer clothes because it's fucking freezing in the mornings, going into the living room, turning on Netflix so I could have the fireplace play, drinking lemon water, journaling, chatting with Lindsay because we lived together at the time, right? And then once my lemon water was done, then getting up and making a matcha and then making avocado toast with a scrambled egg on it. And this was like over the course of 2 hours. That was
Yeah.
my legitimate morning routine. Now my morning routine is I wake up, I meditate for 10 to 15, 10 to 20 minutes in bed. I get up, I wash my face, I brush my teeth. Sometimes I do yoga first thing in the morning, sometimes I don't. I start the coffee pot, sometimes I go on a walk, sometimes I don't. I read, sometimes I journal, right? So it's like also understanding that flow and that change, and that's
Mhm.
okay. But like the nightly routine not being intentional, I love that you notice that because now it gives you the opportunity. Are you going to go back and be intentional about it?
And that's the fork.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and so, and also the detachment and surrender that things are going to change and what it looks like tonight, it might not look like in 2 weeks because
Hmm.
you're changing, but also life circumstances could change. Like the whole time during the hurricane, were you in a fucking Airbnb? Of course, your nightly routine is going to be thrown off.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, but also the ebb and the flow and the grace of that and coming back to yourself and knowing that you always can come back to yourself. And the time between gets quicker.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, yeah, it's not this huge, am I moving states? Am I quitting my job? Am I leaving my husband? Fork. It's
We already did all those, so why do we gotta do it again?
So Kelsey, this is a different fork for you.
Yeah.
Mm, okay.
On that note, I'm gonna hit stop recording.